Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday Truth with Alonda Hassel. So this past week was pretty taxing emotionally. And by Friday, I literally got something to eat. I came home. I think it was between 4 and 4:30. I got comfortable, got on the couch with a blanket and a cup of hot tea and just I actually went to sleep because I was so tapped out emotionally. And so I just wanted to talk about some tools that I use, and I'd love to hear some tools that you use when you get to this space where you're giving. And when I say tapped out emotionally, I don't mean everything was negative. Most of those things, 90+% of those things were very positive. But giving, it's taxing. It takes from you. And so I just wanted to talk about some tools that I realized I had, didn't always know that I had them, but I utilize them. And one tool is that you have to talk to people. You have to have conversation about what you're feeling and feel comfortable with sharing what you're feeling and try to identify why you're feeling that. And that was my main tool because I didn't realize how much of a valuable tool it was until I had conversation with my husband and with my daughter and coworkers about what I was feeling and how tapped out I was. Last week there were some behavioral things that were big at my school, middle school, that just sort of blew my mind. And I didn't deal with them directly, but of course indirectly as an educator, you deal with what happens in your school with your students. But there were some very positive things. Our students went and performed at a high school, which is a big deal. And some things happened, some big life lessons had to be taught while they were performing, when they came off to perform, and as they prepared to go back. It was very taxing, and things turned out to be very good, but it just kind of pulls on you emotionally. So being able to talk with people who can hear you and not necessarily, if you don't want, offer advice, but people who can just let you get it off your chest and hear you. And if you desire advice, they can give that to you as well when you ask for it. Also, just kind of unplugging, from social media, technology, all of those things. I love to do crossword puzzles. I love to read. And so I found myself just finding ways to limit the stimuli in my life and just pick up a pen and my crossword puzzle and do that, or read a book or something that is not going to add to the emotional stuff that I was feeling. And again, it wasn't all negative. Some of it was just good stuff. It was just a lot. And being able to unplug, take a walk, clear your head, listen to a podcast, whatever it is that you think is a good tool. One thing that we're going to do at work is have a restorative circle. And that kind of goes along with talking, but talking with people who are sort of just sharing out, and you're not necessarily looking for answers, but finding a way to just kind of unload what you're feeling and what you're going through and what, and how you're going to move through that. So just finding different, I had to go to sleep, get rest. When you're pulled on emotionally, it's emotional, but it manifests sometimes even through your physical. And so trying to find that time to just take a nap, sit down and do nothing, let your brain settle down and kind of unplug again, like that's very important. I know some people like to go for a drive. Some people like to go work out. Some people like to go have dinner, have a glass of wine, or whatever it is people do. There are so many different ways that they can sort of unplug, and I just think that's very important. Some people like to journal. That's a great tool to sort of write down. And I think you can begin when you write it down to weigh all of those positives versus the few negatives that sometimes we tend to dwell on when, tough times, when you're going through tough times. So journaling is a really good way to kind of get things out. Definitely praying is a great tool. I pray all the time, every day, all day. But really asking God for direction and asking Him to take that weight off of you, asking Him to handle those things that are beyond your reach, beyond your measure, is one of the tools that I will never ever not pray. That's very, very important. I think another big tool is saying no. That there are times that I don't have the capacity to add another thing, to say yes to another thing. I don't have the capacity to do another thing, to engage in another thing. And so I have to use that tool every once in a while when I know that I'm in a place where if I don't say no, I'll just be so overwhelmed that it becomes this rabbit hole, and it's very difficult to get out of it. So, it's the saying, no is a complete sentence. And sometimes it's not because you don't want to. Sometimes it's not because you don't want to go or be a part of or interject or share. It's just because you don't have the capacity to do it. And that's where I was Friday. If I had something on my calendar on Friday, I would not have gone, because that's where I was. And I had something Saturday morning that I didn't feel 100%, but I went, and I was blessed to go and to support, and then I left. And I didn't do anything else the rest of that day, so I could ration that out. But those are some of the tools that I use, and I'm very curious to hear some of the tools that you use that help you when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel emotionally drained and tapped out, when you feel like there's nothing more that you can give. All right, so I talk to people, I unplug, I try to find other things that I can do. I definitely pray, and I make sure that I say no if I can't do it. But I want to hear what you guys do. That's my Tuesday's Truth, and I hope that it's helpful. I hope that if you didn't have tools, you can add these, or if you had tools, you can add these to what you already had if you didn't already have them. But I would love to see in your comments what kind of tools you use when you feel emotionally tapped out, emotionally there's just a lot on your plate and you're trying to figure it all out and you can't give any more. So yeah, share that in the comments. I can't wait to read them. And I just want to remind you that June 1st is our last day for our early bird ticket price for the Know Your Worth conference that will be held in August 17th through the 19th in Stamford, Connecticut at the Stamford Hotel. So I hope that you are saving up your pennies and getting prepared to get registered so that you can be a part of the conference. It is Healing the Whole Woman, and we would love to see you there. All right, I love you all. Have a fantastic Tuesday, and I will talk to you soon.